Koinange live from the rooftop of the Intercontinental Hotel, high above the CBD. And as we continue this conversation, I have to read a couple of tweets. Mwedo Amaura, you say, does Boniface Mwangi have bodyguards? I agree with you, my brother. Here's another one. Bosco Mutunga, you say, Dennis Itumbi is sycophant in chief? That was a little bit harsh. Whoa, keep the tweets coming. Ledama Olekina, you say, Boniface Mwangi, we are very controversial, aren't we? Taking freedom of speech too far. Somebody call G4S. I agree with you, Ledama, because this conversation is about you, me, and the majority of Kenyans, because the youth make up the majority. Right now, he's barely 40 years old, folks, and yes, a lawyer, an activist, and a man who was part of crafting the Constitution we call our own right now. They called it the Committee of Experts. He can talk about the Constitution all day long, but does it apply to you and me and his people in Turkana? Dr. Ekuru Aukot. You are a doctor, aren't you? I gotta mention that, my brother. I gotta mention that. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Jeff. Long time.
Yeah,
since the days of the bench.
Hey.
Oh, the bench again. Okay.
My brother, Turkana.
Yes.
Do they still consider that to be a foreign country? Even after discovering oil and water?
Well, you know what? The paradox is that now Turkana is the punctuation, the full stop, the comma in every conversation. Because of oil, then water. I guess we are now looking for milk, then Turkana will just be paradise. But yes, there are still market differences between Turkana and the rest of Kenya. I still get phone calls and say, hey, habari ya Kenya, how is Kenya? So there are still a lot of differences. If you were to go to Turkana today, say to Lodwar from Kitale, you probably need 10 hours on the road.
10 hours?
Because we used to have a road where from Kitale to Lodwar, you will do 2 hours in about 300 or 400 kilometers max. But now you do 10 hours because the road is gone. Nobody. I mean, Turkana is still, I will say, like the rest of northern Kenya, is the crucible of human rights violation. I mean, it's the only place that robbery with violence through a gun where your car is stolen is described as cattle rustling. You know, compared to if I snatched your phone on the streets of Nairobi, that's robbery with violence and I'll hang by the neck until I die. And that's the law. But in Turkana and I guess part of northern Kenya, the entire NFD, I think there's still a lot of really disconnect with the rest. And I'm hoping that devolution, as we crafted it in the Constitution, we now devolve government's resources sent down to the county. I think the gap might reduce, but we are yet to see that. Still too early in the day to make that connection.
Indeed. We'll get to the injustices, and I want to talk about Baragoi, which we forgot, literally. We forgot Baragoi and what happened there. It's like, you know, it's like we are myopic or we have a short attention span. Before that, you saw my guests last night. You saw the JSC, the CRJ, the whole judiciary, which we all had so much faith in, the one institution that seemed to be working. We had held it in high esteem, and now it seems to be coming undone. It's imploding, if you will.
Yeah, I think what we are seeing in the judiciary right now really is a little bit of a big disappointment, I must say. Because, first of all, for the last 2 years, we never had any problems, never saw any signs. But boom, all of a sudden, there's this war between the chief registrar and then the CJ with his war council, JSC on the other hand. I mean, I think Kenyans are beginning to get confused because if you recall, when we were writing the Constitution, we really fought so hard to give the judiciary the independence, financial and otherwise. So the process of vetting judges and magistrates right now was meant to rejuvenate, give the judiciary that new face. You know, the fact that the JSC is the body that picks judges and magistrates. But with this kind of fighting we are seeing, to almost, I mean, I must say, degree of pettiness, you know, the emails communication, you know, the premeditation as being alleged. You know, I think for me, it's a drawback. It's really a drawback, and I think we're beginning to really question that Kenya, what we've done is we have perfected the language and the art of reform. talk about reform, but I think we don't believe in it. And now I think we're beginning to question about the individuals that all these public offices.
And speaking of individuals, yes. Ekuru, the leader of the judiciary, the man who's supposed to lead from the front, the Chief Justice himself, is not really leading, is he?
Well, I think from what we are seeing, I think there are serious questions. There are serious reasons to believe that the Chief Justice needs to stand up. He needs to demonstrate to Kenyans that we have a new judiciary, that he is indeed the commander-in-chief in terms of the quest for justice, not the commander-in-chief in terms of lynching somebody as we've read. Yeah. I think we need to see that. I mean, and I think for me, it is almost disappointing because someone like Willie Mutunga, and I have tremendous respect for him, because these are some of the people who really stood up against Moi those days, a political detainee himself, went back into human rights, not a person who is motivated by wealth and riches, and he's a simple person. I mean, took a lot of persuasion for him to start dressing in a suit and and stuff like that. So you really expect that we will move a certain direction, but the kind of things that we are now seeing being associated with the Chief Justice, I think for me is really beginning to make us question as to whether should we sit pretty and say every time we put people who probably have a certain history that we should be confident that that's the way Kenya is going. I think there are serious reasons to begin to doubt people's expressions when they're seeking for positions.
Absolutely. Speaking of Commander-in-Chief, Ekuru, Commander-in-Chief himself, he's had has it been a tough 6 months or what? They say be careful what you wish for, because you may just get it.
You mean the Commander-in-Chief in the State House?
The man himself.
The man himself.
Yes.
UK, as we call him. Yes. I think, to be honest with you, it is tough being a Kenyan president on trial. It's a very tough thing, because I have argued that Kenyan president ought to be to walk tall. We are not any banana state. I mean, we are not any banana republic. This is Kenya. I mean, we sit strategically you can argue that in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, we are big as a people. So I can imagine the difficulties that the president is going through. I mean, it's not nice being accused of all those those kind of offenses. But you know what? I mean, he is our president. And I think for me, I hope that he comes out clean during this process. I mean, it's unfortunate that, he has to be subjected to this kind of trial outside our country. I mean, if our judiciary, again, this is a problem with the judiciary, that if our judiciary was the kind of judiciary that we had faith in 2010, when we were writing the constitution, we wouldn't have put Kenya in a situation where our sitting president and our sitting deputy president will have to shuttle to some foreign country to be tried. At
the same time, he has to crack the whip post Westgate, doesn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, Westgate is. God, I shudder to think about some of those videos. I don't know. I'm thinking it may not be true, but we were shown videos.
We saw them.
Of KDF. I mean, people are now making fun of them as the Kenya Dasani forces or something like that.
I mean, or Nakumat's line is, we had it, KDF took it.
Absolutely. There's now a joke that, there are two theories to explain what was happening at Nakumat with the KDF. That one, either the CCTV cameras were also taken hostage, or the guys were simply thirsty. And they needed a lot of paper bags, to really, a lot of water to keep vigil. So, I mean, that is the joke we become really as a country. And for me, it sounds laughable, but this is not the Kenya.
It's serious.
This is not the Kenya we want. This is not the Kenya we crafted. I mean, we crafted a new beginning, a paradigm shift. And therefore, we want to expect that we will have men and women of honor that will protect that Kenya. I mean, seeing this with our soldiers, and then for me, it's very, coming from the northern part of Kenya, knowing the history of northern Kenya, the violations that take place there, both in the borders and across the borders, this is where I would have really loved our soldiers defend our borders, not being associated with that kind of...
But you're not surprised because you've seen this up north. You've seen the behavior.
I think the rest of us are statistics in this country. I mean, we exist.
Speaking of statistics, Baragoi still unsolved.
Baragoi is a very sad situation. I've been on Twitter repeatedly with my counterparts, fellow countrymen from Samburu. Emotions are flaring. The Samburus believe that the Turkanas do not belong in Baragoi, that they must leave, go wherever they came from. I don't know where that is. I've tried to argue with some of them that the Baragoi is still Kenya, Samburu is still Kenya. The Constitution guarantees the freedom of freedom, rights of freedom. You can move anywhere, live anywhere, invest anywhere, be born anywhere, and therefore you must leave. But it is sad that on the 13th of November last year, I documented, based on the information that had been given from Baragoi, about what was happening in Baragoi. I brought it to the attention of Matthew Itere, the then Commissioner of Police. I brought it to the attention of General Gishangi. I brought it to the attention of Kato Ole Katito, who was then the Internal Security Minister. And I told them, this is what's happening. Please investigate this. And we are not excusing the people who massacred our policemen on Suguta Valley. I'm not excusing the people who killed the Samburus, the people who killed the Turkanas. Let's investigate. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's even have a commission of inquiry. But I ask myself, Jeff, how is it that tribal conflicts took place in Tana Delta and we had a commission of inquiry? How is it that Turbi massacres took place, there was no commission of inquiry? How is it that we continuously count bodies in Baragoi, in Turkana, between the Pokot, the Samburu, the Turkana? I mean, nobody really cares about it. And then the rest of us second-class citizens.
And then the other thing, the irony of it all, is that Westgate happens and we become one.
Absolutely. And we saw Kenya one. You know, we saw already they talk about commission of inquiry. We saw people donating blood. Nobody's donating blood for the victims of Northern Kenya conflict. Nobody has donated blood. I mean, every 5 years, Turkanas and the Boranas, the Somalis will be dying of hunger. That's when we start collecting bags of maize and we don't seem to care about these people. I think really, this country is still not one. We are pretentious, Lord. We talk of a nation state, we don't understand what it is. We are just but a conglomerate of ethnic identities that pretend to live together as a country. I mean, for us in the northern part of Kenya, we think we are just an appendage of what Kenya is.
And now you're about to be invaded in a big way, Ekuru. The oil multinationals, the water company, you're about to be invaded big time. What do you think is going to happen?
They're already there. You already hear about land grabbing in Turkana. Let me tell you a story. In 1920, there was a colonial administrator that described the Turkana land as a most useless land. That there's nothing that can come out of it. That the best you can do out of Turkana is just give them the British flag, period. Today, there is some fellow sitting somewhere in Lokichar called Africa Camp Solutions. He has grabbed 500 acres. This is still land protected under the Constitution as community land. We still have questions about tallow oil. How did tallow oil get all the land in the 5 oil blocks in Turkana? You and I were in Lokichar. Right. You heard the Wazis talk about this is our pasture land. Yeah. This is our migratory routes. The Constitution protects all that. Nobody is talking about it. You now hear that people are moving in drones. They want land. Yeah. There are so many thieves that have really invaded Turkana, and I think we need to come out and condemn this. I mean, for me, first of all, they must tell us who gave them this land. Today, I was talking to a friend of mine who tells me that there's a client of his who has a huge title. I mean, a real title. Turkana land is not even a title yet. It's not been demarcated.
But he has a title.
He has a title. So these are all atrocities that continue to happen.
And it's going to get ugly, won't it?
And yet you have the natives, in Turkana, the locals there, who do not even own the land they live in. Yeah. There is displacement. Actually, Turkana, we are seeing a mass displacement program taking place. We are soon going to see real IDPs, people evicted from their own land. And in pastoralist areas, that's the only place, Jeff, where land is not idle, because land in those areas supports an ecosystem, a livelihood called pastoralism. Everybody is ignoring it.
And the end result of all that can only be ugly, can it?
I'm telling you, we are looking at the Niger Delta in the making. It's probably going to be worse than Niger Delta. Because, these nomads, these pastoralists, people look down upon them, but when they spark, it's fireworks. You may not need G4S.
No.
Because that fire will be too big to put off.
Ekuru, what is the Kenya you want?
The Kenya I want, Jeff, is the Kenya where it did not witness the Samburus and the Turkanas killing each other. I want a Kenya where the Tana Delta people coexist. I want a Kenya where Turbi massacres, we don't have to talk about it. I don't want a Kenya where the Murule and the Degodia do not fight each other. I want a Kenya where we really appreciate our diversity. Everybody counts. That's the Kenya I want. The Kenya where I can walk tall, I can walk free. The Kenya where I don't want to witness this kind of bad things we see in our roads. I want to see a Kenya where there's no corruption, where we really value citizenry. We value everybody. I want a Kenya where I'm proud to be a Kenyan. To be honest with you, I think a lot of us still really persevere. Tunavumilia kuwa wa Kenya. We are still very far. Yeah. We are very cosmetic as a people. We perfect the language of reform. We talk of it so eloquently, but we don't believe in it. I think for me, the Kenya I want is the Kenya where I do not have to see this bloated, representation. I want to see a Kenya where we are a proud people. You know the way, America, the United Nations. Yeah. I want a Kenya where when Duale was making a statement talking about civilized nation, that we truly believe in being a civilized nation. I'm told there's division in America, but when they're outside America, they are American people.
They're patriotic.
They're patriotic.
To the core.
Yes. That's the kind of Kenya I want.
Will that happen in your lifetime?
I believe it will happen. It will only happen when the rest of us, Boniface, myself, yourself, and others, a certain generation of us, really stop sitting on the fence, being bystanders, curious onlookers on what's happening, and getting involved.
I like that, Ekuru. I like that. In fact, speaking of Boniface, I think we better bring him on.
Let's bring
on the heat.
Yes.
All right, but we're going to take a break first before we do that. And I like your points, man. Really, really powerful, man. I hope people are listening.
Thank you very much.
I hope someone like you one day can say what you say and get elected to the highest office.
I hope so.
From where you're from.
Only if Kenyans stop thinking in terms of tribe, of region,
and
political parties, tyranny of numbers, the regions they come from, the kind of coalition that bring together various tribes, that'll be the day.
Hallelujah. Let's take a break. Dr. Ekuru Aukot. Listen to the man speak. So passionate, so patriotic. He feels as Kenyan as the next person, but out there in the streets, they make him feel like a second-class citizen. Is that the kind of Kenya you want? I tell you, folks, these conversations, these debates are necessary, and they are important. That's why we're going to take a break and then bring in Boniface Mwangi once again. We're going to read your tweets, keep them coming, and let's get the conversation going. Jeff Koinange live. We'll be back in a moment. Well done, brother. Welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live. It looks like this conversation is on fire. Twitter is aflame, and your tweets are coming in thick and fast. Let me read just a couple real quick, and now we have Boniface Mwangi joining Ekuru Aukot. Gentlemen, Angawa Adero says what's going on in Turkana is a mass displacement program. You agree with that, don't you?
I do, absolutely.
Completely, yeah? Polycarp Nyaribari says what you have done, what he has done is to protect the Turkana.
Not really. I haven't. I'm not defensive. All I'm saying, Jeff, is this, that Kenya belongs to all of us. But if our people are being displaced, we should not shy away from saying they are being displaced. Ngamia 1, the Block 10 BB where oil has been discovered, was actually pasture land. Nobody is talking about compensation, restitution. What happens to the rights of those people? And nobody is even discussing them. We are just discussing about oil. Oil without the consumers being the locals and the Kenyans is a misnomer.
Yeah. Boniface, here's one for Zachariah Adendi Orem says most of our leaders are corrupt in their way, so it's difficult. Young, vibrant Kenyans do not have a chance.
I think we do have a chance if we change our value system. We don't have values. Let's have Kenyan values, and then by 2017, we can go and run for office.
Yeah. Will it happen?
It will.
It's good to see you guys both together. This is how you wanted Ahmed Nasir and Gladys Sholay yesterday. Is this what you wanted?
We're on the same side. Me and him on the same side.
So there's no applause. Huh?
There's no fireworks.
No, we don't have to fight all the times, you know, Jeff. I mean, it's also important to have. I think the problem in Kenya, the way I see it, people cannot have a decent conversation, a truthful conversation. I mean, we are having a conversation here, and it's a conversation about Kenya. How can we change Kenya? How can we participate? I mean, it doesn't have to be conflictual. It doesn't have to be Sholay, Ahmed Nasir. Even they could have sat here on the bench and actually put issues on the table and let Kenyans judge. I mean, it's not about bloodletting all the time. I mean, what kind of society? That's not the Kenya we want.
You know what it is? Yeah. It's that when someone steals your jewelry. Yes. Mob justice mentality. That's what it is. It's mob justice mentality.
But I think it's important if you had the mob justice towards leaders. You know why? If you steal a phone or you steal something, because you know the police don't work, we give instant justice, which is very wrong. Taking laws into our own hands. But when the big guys steal, we never take laws into our own hands. We take them through the due process, and they never face the due process. I told guys, and you need to go and count this, the last 50 years, so much has been stolen from the Kenyan taxpayers. So much money has been stolen from this country. How many of those people who have stolen have been jailed, arrested, convicted, and gone to jail and served their full time and actually left the jail poor? None of them. No one has actually.
Go ahead.
So that hasn't happened. The other thing is actually we need to argue in a very mature way in this country. What I'm saying is actually, I'm actually allowed to say what I want to say when I want to say it, provided I don't provoke or invoke violence or incite people to go to violence.
Right.
So freedom has no limitation as long as I don't break the law.
Yeah.
So and there's no way we can move forward as a country if we don't look back.
What about the Matusi you're throwing tonight?
It's not Matusi. It's not Matusi. The truth is, let me ask you, where did Kenyatta work? Where did Biwott work? Where did they get their money from? Where did Moi work? Those are the questions that I'm asking. Where did Kabogo work? Where did Sonko work? All these guys were extremely wealthy and they made money.
Here's a tweet for you, Bonnie. Don't go.
As a response to that,
here's a tweet for you. Mkenya saying, what about a Kenya without activists who suck up to foreigners? That's Mkenya.
Which foreigners? Let me tell you, those donors that people claim they drill boreholes, they're building your roads, the roads are Chinese funded. There's so much donor money in this country that is going towards development. We have friends who help our work. Let me tell you, Itumbi is saying, no, I have underground donors. Name them. And then I have a payslip, by the way, where I work, because I work with young people. I have a payslip.
Power 254.
Power 254. I can show my payslip, how much money I earn, and Itumbi can show his payslip in a month, how much I earn. And this is the truth. 150,000 shillings. As a photographer, when I work as a photographer, I'm paid 70,000 shillings a day. But I don't get work anymore. Why? I'm not hireable because Kenyans don't love controversy. If I speak the truth, I become controversial. My life and my family life has to go lower so that I can actually survive. Because I'm trying.
Hold that thought. CJ Miller. He says, today only 4 MPs debated the Taxpayers Tribunal bill. That's not the Kenya I want. These are the people we elected, Ekuru.
I agree, absolutely. And I think for me, if I had the chance to move an amendment to the Constitution, is to drastically reduce the size of Parliament, the National Assembly. I will even bring it less to 222 as it was.
Max?
No, much less. Because why? Because with the system of devolution now, you have got county government. So you have representation in terms of people's issues being handled at the county level. So you have the governor with his entourage of executives and the county assembly. So you don't really need a huge representation at the National Assembly. In fact, that is a cost that Kenyans now need to pinch themselves and say, is this really what we wanted? I mean, we gave them that kind of parliament because Kenyans were so emotional, they had gone so tribal, everybody wanted representation. But when you do the cost of implementing this constitution, one of those unnecessary costs is actually the size of parliament. And that ought to be reduced drastically because you don't need them, because now resources via chapter 12 of the constitution is come to the people.
Speaking of resources, 300 billion shillings missing.
Just like that.
300 billion. Nobody bats an eyelid.
And by the way, Jeff, before even we go to that issue, let me correct a fallacy where somebody's trying to throw mud at Boniface here about donors. You know, I think the kind of support we are receiving from the international community. First of all, let's recognize that we are a member of the international community. We are a player in the international globe. So if people care about us and they say, let's support Kenya in this way, how is it that we keep on criticizing people like Boniface, even sometimes erroneously, without proof that they are being supported by some international donors, and we don't criticize our own government when our government is signing up grants every other day? I mean, isn't that being pretentious?
People like hiding behind Twitter and
Absolutely.
Facebook and all that.
I mean, we should be talking about the fact that the 380 billion that is lost, that is money that should have been plowed back.
Correct.
To service delivery, to health, to education, to roads. We should be talking about it instead of stealing that which we create ourselves. Let's not blame somebody else who says, you know what, I care about humanity. Human rights transcend borders, and therefore we want to help Kenya. So what's wrong with that? I think we're just being, convenient,
and,
expedient,
and pretentious.
Yes,
here's someone who's not being pretentious. Wandia Mugo says, "I'm loving Boniface's brains right now. Oh my goodness, such confidence is breathtaking."
Thank you, Andia.
Moving right along. Okay, others are asking, we're talking about all these challenges. What about solutions? Solutions.
So, personally, I'm working on my last protest. And
Is that coming up?
Yes, very soon.
Why is it your last?
Kenyans need to sort their own problems by themselves, man. Because every time you do these things, they call you names and all that. It's actually very frustrating. And I think this time everyone became the activist. Not Boniface or Ekuru. All of us, even Koinange, becomes an activist. So it's my last protest. We're going to do a project with Juliani, Sarabi Band, working on a song, working on a campaign actually to tell Kenyans now, we are the problem. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I am the problem. We elect these people because we wanted them to be in power. And if we can't hold them accountable, then we should blame ourselves for not doing that. So it's our collective responsibility to turn around this country. It's not Kenyatta's job to do it alone. But he can't do it if we don't put pressure on him. So that's what I'm actually working on. Working on my last public project will involve video, photography, music, street art, and say, this is it. It's our time actually to change this country.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the solutions really will be for us Kenyans to change our mindset. I think Kenyans, in my view, I think are people who suffer from a very chronic culture of short memory. Just not long ago, 3-4 years ago, 2010, we were saying we want a new change, we want a new beginning, but we don't believe in it. So I think if Kenyans really begin to think about themselves, begin to love themselves, and say, we wanted this kind of change. So, for example, let's stop lamenting about how much MPs are taking home when these people do not come from planet Mars. We elect them. I mean, if we elect thieves, it's us who are thieves. I think Duale one time said that in Parliament. Don't blame us. I mean, if we are thieves, it's because you people are also thieves. So I think Kenyans really, for me, needs to, first of all, change their mindset. And maybe ask themselves hard questions like Boniface was throwing earlier. What Kenya do we honestly want? I mean, what kind of people are we? All we just do is wake up one morning and complain. And just say, this country is bad, we have thieves, corruption. And like Boniface said, let's not just leave it to the president. Right now, what I say is, well, it's good for us to be critical, but also I appreciate the fact that when the president is the commander-in-chief in this country, we will give him all necessary support. But even he will be a success if we Kenyans say, this is the kind of Kenya we want. Let me give you an example, Jeff. In 1994, Rwanda was a country littered with dead bodies. 1 million Rwandese. Tutsi, Hutu, had been killed, hacked to death. It was probably reeking, But a couple of years down the line, in Rwanda today, I don't know how many Kenyans out there have gone to Kigali. Probably one of the cleanest cities I've ever seen.
Less than 20 years.
The road.
But there's something here. Mwafrika was actually teaching about it. Let's not forget that Kagame is a benevolent dictator. He's a dictator. And there's no freedom of expression. So as we give the Rwanda example, we'd like a Rwanda in terms of things working, but you don't want a dictator in Kenya.
Maybe you can't get everything.
Boniface, I'll also give you another example. You may call him a benevolent dictator. Fair enough. But he has also jailed guys who are corrupt, including his own friends.
That's right.
People they have served with in government. And he tells them after you leave prison, I don't want you anywhere closer to me, 1,000 meters or whatever the case, because that is an example. In Kenya, post-election violence happened, Boniface. But we don't even want to talk about it. But in Rwanda, they sat down and say, let's talk about gacaca system. I sit down with you under a tree and I tell you, why did you kill my brother? Why did you kill me? Why did you kill my relative? That's an example of a country that says, let's not shy away. In Rwanda today, you go to the Genocide Museum, people, really look and say, begin to question their own humanity. Only in Kenya we pretend. We don't want to talk about tribe. I think for me, those are examples we can learn. We can call Rwanda dictatorial or whatever the case may be. But I think they've been able to fix certain problems about themselves.
No doubt. Let's go to another tweet. Jeremiah Karaoke says, where did this culture of glorifying corruption and theft come from? How can Kenya get itself out of it?
Kenyans love free things, handouts, the leso, the kibiriti during elections. So because of the handout culture, every time someone gives you something, you feel like you owe them.
Yeah.
So we feel like every time they come and campaign and they give us the caps and the t-shirts, we owe them. And that's how we vote for them. But the other thing goes back to the mindset and the lack of values. As a country, we don't have values. So anything comes, goes. But if you had values, then when someone comes and they are corrupt, the system rejects them. And you look at it this way. You have formed very many commissions of inquiry, from the Golden Bag to the TGRC that actually concluded recently. Now there's one for Westgate.
Yeah.
But you know very well, the commission of inquiry will go do work. People will be paid sitting allowances, but there's no action taken from that.
And that's why in the end, we get the leaders that we deserve.
Because
someone like you, Ekuru, you ran for office last time, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Okay, but you had a team, G47.
No, let me tell you, what we try to do in G47, Kenyans get excited about political parties. G47 was not a political party. It was just a political trust, and the idea we were putting across then was, let's talk about alternative leadership.
How much traction did you gain?
Oh, when you tell Kenyans to invest in leadership like Boniface is saying, all they want is for you to give them handouts. We came with a simple formula, Jeff, and you remember I took you through the formula. And I said, give us 5 bob every day for 1 year, and we will be able to put in the best candidate. Value system. But Kenyans don't think about that.
No.
Kenyans are pretentious. It's the only country in the world, by the way, Jeff, that has a whole chapter called leadership and integrity. They don't believe it.
Absolutely.
They don't believe in it.
Boniface, would you run for office?
I think I would.
You would?
I think I would.
Are you going to?
Am I going to? It's too soon to answer. If I survive till 2017, if they don't kill me like Kingara, GPO, Getao, Pio Gamapinto, the Tomboya, all those guys that they've killed.
Right.
If I survive 2017, maybe I'll run.
I think Kimayo is watching, so he's going to make sure you're protected.
And Itumbi as well. He works at State House. And Geshangi as well.
No.
I want to speak and go home to my wife and kids.
No, I want to assure Boniface nobody will kill him.
Nice.
I think Kenya has changed. I think now we tolerate.
Bosire is missing.
Well,
you know Bowonko Bosire?
No, he's not missing.
Where is he?
He's somewhere.
Are you sure?
He's not missing.
No, I think Kenya has honestly.
Ask Itumbi.
I think Kenya has honestly.
Itumbi said he doesn't know where he is.
Really?
Yes.
Ask him.
I think Kenya has honestly changed. both in terms of really tolerance. There are a few elements, misguided elements. The sycophants you're talking about earlier. I think those ones are very few. But this is a country now where you can actually, criticize the president as you did. Say things about them. And I think tomorrow, if you did that under Moi, Boniface right now, you've probably been in Manyani.
And that's why we can't let Kemayo to take us back into the dark days. And please, Bonakidero, if you're watching this, stop arresting people in town for discussing politics.
Absolutely.
We live in a free country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I learned this evening, I was calling a friend of Kimayo and he told me that Kimayo has said that he's not arresting anybody.
That's what he said.
I think people are just,
but he said
picking on him.
All right.
Well, this is Kenya where, you are caught stealing and then he said, no, it was not me.
So I cannot remember.
I cannot remember.
I was misquoted. I am not aware.
Gentlemen, closing thoughts. We'll start with you, Ekuru. Go ahead.
I think Kenya, we are in the cusp of renewal. There's so much potential about this country. Right now, you see there's a lot of reverse migration. And the bus stop, the bus stop actually is Kenya. Everybody is here. I think I just want to tell Kenyans that we have a great nation. We have a lot of potential. We can actually be the biggest players in the world. Who would have thought that Turkana will be oil today? Who would have thought that we are sitting on a lake that will give us water for the next 70 years? So there's a lot of potential about this country. Let's not be negative. Let's get involved. Let's stop lamenting. Let's stop just sitting by the fence and getting involved. I think we can change this country like yesterday. We are very brilliant people. I think when I socialize, in this country, I see a true Kenya. But every time, politics kicks in, Yeah, you become Turkana, you become Kikuyu, and now Kikuyu from Muranga, Kiambu, Kirinyaga, or Luo from Suba, that kind of. I think if we can only look in the mirror and say, we can change this country today, I think, let me tell you, it's been said, the next China is Africa. And Kenya sits in that position where we can actually play, press the button and Kenya and Africa can take off.
Kenya is the heartbeat.
Absolutely.
You can see the way it's positioned with the heartbeat.
But look at the reverse. We look at the people landing here every other day.
Yeah.
I mean, investment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's serious.
Yeah.
So it's only for us, really. And I will not finish, Jeff, without reminding Kenyans about the Constitution. We really toiled so hard to give ourselves this document. It's a beautiful document, very interesting proposals, national values and principles of governance, things to do with patriotism, accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been watered down through legislation, but those legislations are very subordinate to the Constitution. The Constitution is still intact.
It's a work in progress.
It is.
Right? Bonnie, closing thoughts.
Wow. You said it all. Kenya is a beautiful, amazing country. And we all love this country, both the critics, and the patriots, and the sycophants. We all love this country for different reasons. And I believe that we can change our continent and we can change our country if we play our own role, that all of us have a responsibility towards this country to leave it a better place than we found it. But we can't sit by and let other people do it. We have to do it ourselves. So every single day when you wake up, what can you do to make the country better? Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you can change this country. But one more thing, the president needs to crack the whip. He has our support. For this country to move forward, he has to act. Because if he doesn't act, if he can't crack the whip, then he should resign.
Absolutely. You know what? You make good points, both of you. But you said crack the whip. But as Ekuru said, all hands need to be on deck.
But we need
all hands.
He's the commander.
Yes.
He's the one leading.
Yes.
So he needs to decide: is he going to lead thieves or citizens?
Right. Absolutely. Good points, gentlemen.
If I can advance a point that Bonnie has...
It has to be 10-second point.
Yes.
Go.
I think Uhuru Kenyatta has the single most chance to be the most popular president this country has ever had.
And I agree.
I don't think he needs power necessarily. I don't think he needs wealth. I don't think he needs popularity. His pedigree speaks for himself.
He needs a backbone.
All he just needs is...
the backbone.
And crack that whip.
Absolutely.
Yes.
By the way, the newsroom has just informed me that Kimayo hasn't issued an official statement saying journalists will be arrested. He just said, report responsibly.
Higher.
He's heard you, my brother.
And there's Occupy Kenya. Don't arrest us, Bonakema. You have 2 court cases. Don't arrest
When is it coming? When is it?
I won't tell you. But it's in the plans.
Bonnie, good to see you.
Asante sana.
Dr.
Yes.
Well done, man. Keep it
Thanks,
up. Guys, if we have just 2 of you and maybe another 20 of you, we can change this place.
Thank you.
And you too.
My brother, I'm just the messenger, man.
A good messenger.
Good to see you guys. The Kenya we want. These are the types of conversations we want to have on the bench. And past the bench, we can do it on Twitter, on SMS, on social media. Let's keep talking. Because I keep saying this, the minute we stop talking is the minute we start fighting. You don't want to go down that slippery slope. The Bench, Wednesdays, Thursdays, right here on Kenya's television network. Join us next week. New week, new topic, only on KTN. Thanks for watching. Good luck and good night.